For the first time ever, Sammy the Bull Gravano tells his story. This is our thing.
New York, 1985. Paul Castellano.
When the plot started, people think we just did this right away. It was 6 or 8 months prior. Once I agreed to be part of the plot, I avoided Paul Castellano. I just couldn't be that person who was thinking and plotting to kill him and socializing with him at the same time. In a way, I felt bad for him. He made a lot of mistakes. He did a few things personally to me and my family that I never got over. But he was still the boss. He still did a lot of good things with me. I have good memories of him even till today. And I just felt super uncomfortable with plotting, and I almost felt like if I did that, I would be betraying him altogether. It sounds crazy, and I can't really get it out of my head properly, I think, but I felt more comfortable away. I know part of the life is deception. In planning a hit, you're always doing something or saying something and you're plotting against the guy, but usually it happens 1, 2, 3. It's just to make it happen. To sit there for 6, 8 months, especially when Neil was alive and we weren't positive what way it would go, I just felt uncomfortable. Sitting, eating, talking with him, smiling. On a short-term thing, I think I could do that, and I did do that. I think I was pretty good at it. But with Castellano, he was the boss of the family, and he replaced my father. It was different with him. He was up in age. I respected old age. I knew it was inevitable. I knew it was going to happen. But I had as little contact as humanly possible. I think if I would have had more contact with him, if he would have did 2 or 3 things, maybe the thing he did to me personally, if he would have apologized or did things, I might have been on the other side of that war. So I just couldn't be there. I was when it was necessary, but I really, really tried to stay away from things. The time I spent in the mafia, it always passed through my mind how the mafia started in Sicily. My parents were Sicilians. They were peasants. They were farmers. It started in a way to protect the people. They lived and died for the people. Growing up, my father told me, those are bad guys, but they're our bad guys. There were so many small little examples of not only their treachery, but their honor, how they felt about the neighborhood. Women were safe. Children were safe. The church was safe. I thought it was part of my heritage. And I did feel like I was living through history. And I was actually part of history. The good, the bad, and the ugly part. All of it. But it's history. Yes, I felt a love, a respect for the mafia. Some things that mafiosos did, I was actually embarrassed about. I was ashamed that we did certain things. But no organization is perfect. None. I'm not saying that the mafia was perfect. And there certainly was people within the mafia who made it super ugly. People may say that you're part of that. I might be. But I'm part of history. That's one thing you can't take away from me. Nobody could. I'm part of this mafia. My name will go down in history of what I was. When I'm doing this podcast, when I do my made-for-TV movie of the story of my life, I'm obsessed with telling the truth. I'm obsessed for people to know how loyal I was. I did things I didn't even want to do. I wouldn't even think of doing without being a mafioso. I didn't kill anyone even when I was in gangs or in the military, up until I was in the mafia. I'm not saying I wouldn't kill people when I was in the military. If I would have went to Vietnam, that was my era, I would have killed people. But absolutely, the thought of the history of the mafia, not me myself, but the history of it, was surrounded. When I was in the mafia, part of that history was right in my face. Carlo Gambino, Lucky Luciano, Al Capone, and on and on and on. You saw movies, you saw books, you heard of them, you knew what kind of people they were. They were my idols in one way. And I always thought about the mafia. When I saw The Godfather, it shook me. This is us. This is us. A boss of a family, an old man with his sons, people. The wedding, that's us. Every wedding I went to was just like that. People singing Italian songs and people dancing on the floors and dance floors and doing all kinds of things. That was us. They broke bread together. That was us. There's so many good things about the mafia that I loved. I never really despised it. The treachery, the betrayals eventually got to me, and I walked away. I faced life without parole on many, many, many occasions. I was asked to cooperate many, many, many times, and never did. Said people say, I'm afraid of prison. I got 22 years in prisons. There's not one person in prison who ever talked negative about me in any way, shape, or form. Till today. My father passed away, I believe it was after I was made. And my mother passed away 5 years after him. My mother and father, when I was in the military, they retired. They moved to Long Island to that little bungalow. They had it fixed and lived there full time. They sold their factory when I came out. And I was living in my own apartment, and the apartment where Spiro's owned, I lived with them for a while. And I would go back and forth to Long Island. My brother-in-law Eddie lived in a house right behind them, a lot that they bought years ago. They gave my sister and my brother-in-law the lot. They built a home on it. My brother-in-law, schemer that he was, lost an enormous amount of money in business and put his house up for collateral. He lost his house. My mother and father called me, mainly my mother, and she said, he did it again. This time he lost the house. Your sister and the kids are going to be in the street. I had just bought a house in Staten Island. It was under construction. I was remodeling the whole house, bringing in furniture, putting in tile floors and doing all kinds of things. I just came off a pretty good score, 50, 60,000. Back then it was a lot of money. So I told them, don't worry about it. I'll give them a down payment and maybe they'll move to Staten Island. My mother and father were willing to sell their home and put up part of the money. I put up the other part to buy them a home in Staten Island. I told my wife, cancel everything, furniture, cancel everything we're doing. She said, what happened? I told them about my brother-in-law and my sister and that I was going to help them. We canceled everything we were doing. I put my entire house, my family on hold. They moved to Staten Island. The house that we got them was a mother and daughter. They lived upstairs with their 4 children. My mother and father lived in the fucking bottom apartment, a 1-bedroom apartment. From a home sitting on almost an acre of land, they were now in the basement almost of that home. It broke my heart. I was happy that they were close to me, but I knew that it really devastated them a little bit. They changed their entire way of life. Their retirement in that beautiful Lake Ronkonkoma home was changed to a 1-bedroom apartment. But that's what Italians do. That's what good mothers and fathers do. My respect for my mother and father went through the roof. I always knew they were good people. But these people were just gave up everything they worked for, everything they wanted to retire for, so that their son-in-law and daughter wasn't in the street. After a couple of years of living there, this is on Leggett Place, my father got sick. He had a stroke. He was in the hospital, and we all went back and forth to see him. And one day in the hospital, he had a heart attack on top of the stroke and died. We had a funeral for him. A lot of people came, respected me, and my sisters, I guess. John Gotti came down with a whole crew of guys, 4, 5, 6 guys. I didn't know him well. He was coming down to pay his respects and to become a little closer to me. My mother lived with a broken heart for 5 years. He was 5 years older than my mother. So the year that he died to the year 5 months later, my mother died of a heart attack as well. An army of people came to that funeral. I miss them, but I always hold them in my mind, in my memories, even in my thinking in the street. If I did X, Y, Z, how would my father or my mother feel about it? Even in days when I was Sammy the Bull and I was a hit guy and I was supposed to be dangerous, they always came to my mind. Shorty did, from the Colombo family. Tato did. People who were my mentors in a different way. But my father and my mother were always in that same thinking. When I went went to save someone rather than just kill them. It was always my mother and my father in my ear, on my shoulder. Give them a break. When I looked at women who were struggling, or children, I always remember how my mother and father helped. One year in a bank, I was doing the payroll. Everybody got paid, and there was $500 extra. After my mother and father counted it, they said, "You're right, there's $500 extra." He called the bank. He was going to give it back. And I questioned him, "Dad, why? The bank's got a lot of money. We don't have to give it back." And he said, "There's a woman who works there. She always takes care of me. She'll be blamed for it. They won't say she stole it. It doesn't matter. Even if she made a mistake, she might be fired. If I keep this money, it's my responsibility. I got her fired." And he gave the money back. That never disappeared from me. Till today. I remember it like it was yesterday. I make jokes about it, that I was crying, jumping up and down. I didn't want to give it back. And I was, because I was a kid and I was stupid. But I think back about it now, how right he was to want to help. How much of a good human being he was to us, to other people, our neighbors. When he put Jewish candles in our windows because our neighbors were Jewish, and he respected them and their religion, and their holiday was close to ours, and he put Hanukkah lights in our window. He made me shovel their walkways because they were older people and they were at work. At that time, it probably annoyed me. I think about it now. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for everything you did. For me, and so many other people. I love and miss you. Maybe I'll be there soon. Hold a place for me. People say I was extremely dangerous. I don't look at myself like that. I look at myself as being capable. Capable is different than being dangerous. I really never got up in the morning and wanted to hurt somebody. When I went on robberies, I never shot somebody when they resisted. I pistol whipped them. So people say, "That's dangerous what you did." Sure, it's dangerous, but I didn't shoot them. I could have. I could have pulled the trigger, but I didn't. So I don't look at myself as being dangerous. Am I dangerous? When I get a hit or I get somebody, a target. I was taught, trained by the mafia, by the military. You're my fucking focus. Nothing in the world means anything to me anymore. Nothing. Money, family, nothing. But you. My job is to take you out. I was extremely efficient at that. When I was told to hit the mattresses in the Colombo family, and we were a pack of wolves, we were going to kill the Gallows and they were going to kill us. So you were my target. I looked for your weaknesses. I looked for where you went, why you went there, who's your girlfriend, who owes you money. Are you going to go looking for your money? I learned that. And nothing meant nothing to me. I had blinders on. The only way for me to stop was for you to be dead. Now, did that make me dangerous? I guess so. I look at it as efficient. I went into hits that I didn't even think I would walk away from. I guess the Johnny Keys hit is one of them for a great example. I look at it today, at 76 years old, and I say to myself, how the fuck did you walk into that? How did you do that? Most hit guys would wait it out forever and maybe never get done. When I couldn't get it done, I walked into the lion's mouth. When I was told, if they think you're lying, they're going to bring you down the basement. They're going to torture you and then kill you. I said from my heart, I know. He says, I'll come in. No. You can't save me no more at that point. Just leave quickly. You'll help the next people who come down to replace me. I think about it now. Those words, what I said, what I meant. How committed were you that you would do that? 5 families and the family in Philadelphia couldn't kill him. I did. Cosa Nostra was everything to me. It was for everything I've never been in school. My parents couldn't be proud of me because I was a fuck up. I was dyslexic. I couldn't learn. I couldn't read, spell, write. Numbers looked like jumbled up to me. The mafia was my home. The mafia is where I belonged. That's how I felt. Whatever it was. I would have felt like that in Vietnam. Because the United States felt that they were communists and they were going to come to this country and rape your mother, your sisters, your girlfriends, your wives. I was committed. I'm glad I never went to Vietnam. I'm glad, because I would have killed. Maybe that's the type of person I am. I'm committed to what I'm doing. I'm divorced from my wife, but I'm with her 50 fucking years. I never raised my hands to my wife. I never raised my hands to my daughter or my son. I gave them a little boot in the ass or something at one point or another, but I never beat them. I never hurt them. I never came home drunk or on drugs. So I had some scruples and morals mixed into being a mafioso. I think that's what made me a different kind of mafioso. I tell these stories, and I hope that the movie will come out someday. I hope it comes out while I'm alive so I can see it. But I want it out so my family, my kids, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren to come will say, that's him. That's really him. That's my poppy. Not what you read or you hear. He was strong. He was tough. He was kind. He knew how to love. He knew how to respect. He knew how to be loyal. The love and respect he gave John Gotti, when he was betrayed, he exploded and did something that he always was offered and never took, no matter what the stakes were. That's him.
Is there anything else you'd like to add before we cut? Anything that's on your mind? Anything at all?
I'm fortunate that my son put me onto the social media. I built a team. You hear me talking. About Zaza, about Richie, Big Rich, about James Carroll. I'm fortunate that I'm in the position I'm in now. You could love me, you could hate me. I understand. And I accept it. But one fucking thing is for sure. You're gonna hear the truth. How I believe. How I love. How I hate. How I could kill. How I could be honorable and loyal. It's like I got a multitude of personalities, maybe. I don't know. History, like Cosa Nostra, will tell what I really am. I hope that everything I'm doing will be the people who know me and my family will understand. Well, I love you guys, and I really mean that. I'm honored to sit here and to do this.
Thank you for listening to Season 2 of Our Thing with Sammy the Bull Gravano. We're in pre-production on Season 3, and we'll be right back with more episodes. Thank you very much for listening, your support, and all of your comments.